Good afternoon, Arlynda. It's so nice to see your face before I was peeping your little Christmas tree in the back. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
I'm so glad to hear it. It's like I said, so good to see you. We were just kind of chit-chatting about it being a hectic week on both ends, but we now get to be relaxed in Friday, the emergence of, the weekend. And I can't imagine a better way to start this weekend and this winter break season. So thank you for being here with me and taking the time to talk today.
Yes, it's always a pleasure.
Yes, and so I want to introduce you properly. This is Arlynda Jonas, dancer, influencer, teacher. So amazing, so cool. The moment we met, I think it was in September, I was like, this woman, I need to know her. I need to celebrate her. Like she is doing really cool things in our community. And so I can't wait to use this time today to know you even better and to share your story. Oftentimes when people come on this platform, we like to start with, their personal background. What were they like as a child? Where were they as a child? And how did they end up kind of at this point and with this interest that they have? And for you, I guess, this interest in influencing and dancing and teaching.
Yes.
Awesome. So let's paint the picture for me, if you will. Take me back to Arlynda as a child. Where were you? What were you doing?
Yeah, sure. So, oh my goodness. So when I was a kid, obviously I didn't know that dancing was going to be like my thing today, but when I was a kid, we would always have like these first birthdays. So in our culture, we have like gamems, which is a party. And so it's a big thing in our culture. And so part of that is having to have entertainment. And I always watched my older cousins dance, hula dancing. And so I was always so curious to want to dance with the older girls too. And so one day, one of my little cousins' birthday was coming up. She was going to turn 1. And so we were getting ready for it. And they had asked if all the little girls could do a little dance. So my older cousins, they taught us, dances for that birthday. And it just became a thing to where we continue to learn other dances and getting ready for other parties, like other first birthdays as well. And so I realized, oh my goodness, like I love to move my body a lot. As a kid, obviously every kid loves to move their body and everything, but for me it was all about moving my hips, moving my having graceful movements. And it was just a great memory to even remember about, because it takes me back to a place where I started out and figuring out and finding out my true passion and and what I really love to do. And every time, and this is a funny story, but every single time I'd always come back home, as a kid, I would always go into the bathroom and just look at myself in the mirror and just smile, like, practicing my smile, because being a performer, being a dancer, it's really important to have, the most important thing to have is a smile on your face, because you're delivering that message, that story that you're telling to the audience. And so it's just it's a whole new experience and just a whole new world when you're just on stage, just dancing and just feeling the song and the words and the lyrics. And I feel that was me, that I felt every single lyric of the song that I would dance to, and I would just express it with every bit of me, every part of me. I'd use my head, my arms, everything of me, to deliver that message when I would dance on stage. And so growing up, I would continue on, dancing here and there, but it was more of like an amateur type. And so I just danced for fun growing up till I got to high school. During my high school junior year, I had gotten into a school called a school in Kansas City, and that was about like the arts. So, part of the arts, dancing is a part of arts. And so I got to join a group of dancers and got to travel with them and perform everywhere they went. And so it was really exciting to be a part not only of a different diverse group, but we all shared the same things. And so it's amazing to have others, being connected with others who have the same similarities as you, which is like dancing and just learning new songs together, and just um, having that type of, what do you call it? How would I say it? Like that type of, mm, readiness to be quick and learning something new, and just full on, just getting hyped up for the new, getting prepared to be on stage and getting hyped up, and just, having a group of people with you is the best. It's the best whenever you're wanting to dance and perform in front of people and audience, because you have them like rile you up, and it's just amazing to be a part of that type of community, and just also learning new different types of dances as well. It doesn't have to be hula. It could be, right now in the program, we're also applying Marshallese dances, cultural traditional dances as well, because I not only want myself to teach, a group of girls just hula, but I want them to learn different types of traditional dances as well, but most importantly, learn the dances of their traditional dances, of where they come from, to understand who they are, and to really understand the background of the different dances and genres that we do perform.
Yes, it's such a beautiful way. And thank you so much for painting that picture. It is such a beautiful way to pass on tradition and tell a story of your ancestors and your culture, and to, I guess, kind of continue to evolve that for the next generation. But I love in your story how there are these layers of family and tradition and incorporation of like new experiences in the US. But I want to come back to these first birthday parties. I don't think we've said it explicitly yet, but you mentioned it a little bit just now that you are Marshallese, right? And so in Northwest Arkansas, that might be more like common knowledge where the Marshall Islands are, like what the like being Marshallese means. But I don't know if it's as common knowledge for the broader US that doesn't have the privilege of knowing as many Marshallese people. So I wondered if you could share more even about, those first birthdays and what makes them so meaningful, and how kind of dance plays into it.
Yes, of course. And so what do you call it? So with the first birthdays, like I said before, we call it gamems, which is birthday parties. Gamems can be weddings, birthdays, any kind of big event, gathering. And so with the first birthdays, typically it's being celebrated by, just a big, the whole entire family, and friends, and just everybody. If it was back home, I believe that like probably like the whole village gets together and celebrates the time of, having this child who's turning one. you know I don't know exactly like the reason why they picked first, turning one as a big, celebration thing for us. That I've always wondered. But what I do know is the fact that first birthday, whenever we do gather together, there's traditional foods that are made by different family members. Like everybody helps it, everybody puts in something, to make this huge celebration for this child, and just also helping out the family as well. And so by part of helping out, there's people who are in charge of food, there's people who are in charge of entertainment, and part of the entertainment part is dances, traditional dances. And so that comes into a lot of traditional dances. And when you come to first birthdays, you'll see that there's not just only Marshallese traditional dances that are being done, that are being shown, but also hula dancing seems to also be a part of that as well. And hula dancing isn't really entirely part of our culture at all, but it is a thing with a lot of Pacific Islanders that, we all tend to, want to do or do to perform in front of others. And it just seems like I all for Pacific Islanders, I feel like all of us do hula dancing, but it's not specifically from the Marshall Islands because it's more of like the Hawaiians. Um, but the thing about it is the fact that when I dance hula on stage or perform at a first birthday, I always have to switch my hats, because when I switch over to dancing to Hawaiian song, I I now am a Hawaiian. I represent them now. And so I want to be able to represent them in a way where, it's like um it represents their culture, and it just shows a meaningful um story, being told. And so for me, I take a lot of different types of performances seriously only because um I want to be able to represent that background or that culture, from their traditional dances. And that's pretty much what I want to be able to apply and share to other little girls who are part of this program that I have, is to not only teach, not only help them to learn to dance, but it's about the meaning behind dancing, and knowing where that dance came from, and knowing and understanding then that culture and their traditions, and knowing the fact that teaching them how it's important that when we are dancing their dances, that we are also not only representing the song, but we are also represent not only them, but we are also representing their people and who they are, you
Yes.
know.
What an incredible source of honoring and celebrating, not only our own culture but other people's culture. And I think it's a really, I imagine, when I read a history textbook, it's really hard for me to retain the information. But if you learn a song of a people that's not like your people, and then you dance to it and it becomes personal, like what a better way for
Yeah.
that to be imprinted on your heart and your mind. I just think that's really, really precious and should not be taken for granted. So I love that that is your approach. I think back to, well, first of all, I'm just picturing little Arlynda, like as a child, learning all the lyrics and like moving every part of your body. Like you had so much intention. That was so cool that at such a young age, you were able to be so attuned to all of the different layers of this experience for yourself, and the audience. So that's really, really incredible. And then you were mentioning, like the smiling, for instance, and
Mhm.
that being such an important part of the experience. I remember when I learned like ballet at like 3 years old, right? They're like, oh, smile, smile, but there
Mhm.
was no I imagine for your students, with the different layers of connection that you make, that's a very genuine smile, that it's grounded in understanding and appreciation, and also being heard in their individual stories, which we'll get into, of how you support them as a teacher. Whereas mine was like, just smile, like your parents want to see you smile. And I'm like, well, like that's great for that moment. But the way that you do it, I think it's so pure, and so has such a long-term impact on everyone who gets to witness it, gets to do the smiling. So that's really cool. You talked about, okay, so this was like a whole new world to me, hula versus Marshallese dances versus other Pacific Islander like ways of movement. So I think of like, tap, ballet, those things, I kind of differentiate them by the shoes you wear, right? But how do you know if you're doing hula dancing or another type of Pacific Islander dancing? Are there signs you can look for as to like what type of dancing is happening?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. With hula dancing, um yeah, well, with hula dancing, you'll notice that we don't wear any shoes. Like we have no shoes on, So
Yeah.
we dance barefooted, and that's how you know. We also wear you know, different types of outfits, costumes. So sometimes we'll wear sarongs, and those are like the how do I explain it? Oh, actually, I have one right here. I don't know how to explain it, but
I
they look
love a
like this.
prop.
Yes, they look like this, you know.
Oh
You know what
yes,
I'm talking about? Yeah.
beautiful.
Uh-huh. So yeah, that's pretty much what we wear. And then we also have like hip lays around our hips to kind of help us to give that more big motion circles, you know, because you know, whenever they shake, you notice that their motions of their hips are really big, you know, when they're shaking. So the hip lay helps it to kind of give us a better movement, you know, a better circle or hip rotation. There you go.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Okay, that makes sense. That's awesome. And then I remember like I went to a Marshallese cultural celebration and each island, each atoll, or how do you pronounce the word? Is it atoll?
Atoll.
Atoll.
Yes.
Each
Mhm.
atoll has its own maybe like specialty like thing that they make. Are the dances different by atoll too, or is it more like universal Marshallese dances? How does that work?
I'm not honestly too sure about that question. Um, which is a really good question. All I know for a fact that um I believe that which each atoll they have their own like, you know, dance. And you know, sometimes those which we call beat. So the Marshallese marches that we do, there we call it beat, which is like BIIT, I believe. And so beat is another dance. It's another Marshallese, it's a Marshallese dance performed by you know, groups of girls and men, or it could just be you know, it could be a partner dance, it could be a just all boys dance or just an all girls dance. And so with that, they have like this whistle, they have like
I love the
a
whistle.
yeah, the leader of the group, he's always the one all the way in the front, and he always has a whistle. And that whistle, what the leader who is whistling, gives them, you know, the signal of okay, this is the next one. And it's just amazing how they made beat Marshallese beat, because like I'm like, I wonder who started out making these dances,
Yeah.
because it's like the communication from a whistle to a group of people knowing the fact like, oh, okay, that's a sign that we're going to the next section, you know, or session, you know what I mean, like we're going to the next verse. And so it's just like he just blew two you know, two blows out from that whistle. What does that even mean? Like, you know, he's just whistling, but he's also, the whistler is also, you know, sometimes they give it their own little spice when they're whistling as well. And so it's just it's amazing because different villages or islands over there in the Marshall Islands, they could have their own beat, and no one else can use it unless you have permission from them. So I think it has to tie into like royalty. So if like, you know, say a chief's family has like a beat, a dance, a Marshallese dance, then that you know, other islands of the Marshall Islands cannot use it unless they have permission from that, you know, from the chief or whoever created. You know what I mean? It's because it's so traditional, and so it's like all these beat songs that they do or march with. It tells us a story, you know, of I guess where they come from that village, or who they are and what that village or that island is known for, you know. And so yeah, but yeah, I believe that each island has a dance and a meaning behind what, you know, about that village and what they're known for through their dance, their beat dance. But I'm not specifically too sure about like universal or other, you know, but I do know that there's some dances that you have to have permission from certain group of people higher up to use that dance or to dance it. So
It's So cool, this background. So thank you for sharing it. I remember when I went to this celebration, the royalty was sitting in like its own special section. And I was like, this is so cool. Like I had no idea about all of these different, nuances to Marshallese culture that make it so special. So
Oh yeah.
really cool to see how the dancing is part of that whole tradition too. So did you spend any of your life in the Marshall Islands, or were you born here? Like, did you experience that transition?
Okay, so I get that question all the time. I was born in the Marshall Islands, so I'm actually half Marshallese and half Kushian. And Kushai is actually a part of the Federated of Micronesia, state of Micronesia. They just Marshall Islands is now, their own. They are their own now. And so Kushai is still under federated of the state of Micronesia. And so which means Kushai, they speak a whole different language from Marshallese people. But what do you call it? But they're still both Micronesia. But yeah, those are the two islands that I'm from. My mom is Marshallese and my dad is Kushian. Um, what was the question again? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I was just wondering if any of your life, if your whole life had been here, or if some of it was there. And the reason I think about this is, in social work, we think a lot about, when people are separated from like parts of their culture, or where, their birthplace. Like my dad was born in Italy and then he moved here. Having parts of your culture that you get to continue to celebrate and be connected with is a really like a cool strength to get to practice, or we call might be like a protective factor. So my dad, his family, when they moved here, went to like an Italian American immigrant community, right? So they were able to practice the same, like, I don't know that first birthday, like, Christmas Eve dinner is a big thing in the Italian community. So they were able to do that still with their friends. And I just wondered about, in that transition, like what dance might have meant to you as a way to continue to be connected with your roots in the Pacific Islands.
Yeah, for sure. So I was born in the Marshall Islands, but I moved to America when in 1998. Yes, 1990. No, I'm sorry, 1999. Sorry, I moved here in 1999. So, and I believe I was about 5 years old when I moved here. So pretty much my whole life was here in America, and I don't quite remember a whole lot back home. But what I do remember, which I'm so thankful for that it's not gone yet, is my language. And so I still know my language. I still understand it. I can still speak it. The only thing is like I don't have that accent, as I used to. And so having to transition from Marshallese language to English, and people having to hear me when I do respond back to them, it's like, did you say you're Marshallese? Wow, you're really good. I'm speaking English for a Marshallese. And in my head, I'm just like, am I supposed to be offended? Like, I don't know how to take that sometimes, because it's like, oh, well, thank you. But it's like,
Awkward.
Yeah, like I don't know, I really don't, but I just love the fact that I'm able to still have, to remember my language. And that kind of goes back towards, really knowing my roots. And so I grew up in Springfield, Missouri, and then I moved here to Arkansas in 2014, I believe. And so I didn't realize, I mean, I knew that there was a huge population of Marshallese community here, but I didn't really know like what all was Arkansas, or like what all the Marshallese community was about here, until I lived here. And I said, oh my goodness, there's so many opportunities,
Yes.
and I started to go to church. It's I went to church at King Chapels, which is another Marshallese church here in Springdale, Arkansas, which is, they're awesome, great, wonderful people, awesome pastors, great leaders, great church. And, that's where I actually started out, coming up with a ministry that, I got asked if I wanted to lead a hula ministry. And what's so crazy? Like, I would never think that any Marshallese church would ever have like some kind of ministry hula dancing. I only say that because with where I come from, the Marshall Islands, we don't they're not really like for the whole like hip shaking. We're really more of just like only legs and like upper body movements. Like there is no like hip shaking, no booty shaking, nothing like that. And like I said, that's part of our like, where I come from, part of our culture. It's like manat, which is manat means respect. And so respect plays a whole big role in our culture. And I have a lot. We can go into that. I could go into that all day, with that side, but we're not going to, 'cause I have my beliefs and like what I feel about that, but I'm just gonna say that in my culture, hip bottom shaking is not like it's a big no. You don't do that, girls. We cannot wear like halter tops, like cut low cut shorts, like nothing like that. It's like it's almost like it's against our culture. But that's the thing though. I feel like we've grasped that since we were kids, and now we're all grown up to where it's like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, because that's what I was told since I was a kid. It's not good to show body parts, it's not good to shake your hips, it's not good to. But I feel like but for me, it's all about having to share something that you have a passion for. It's about sharing the the good works of performance or dancing, behind the scenes, like everything about dancing or hula dancing or Marshallese dancing. Like there's so much education that needs to be done, especially for for dancing these types of dances, whether it's like hip shaking. I feel like there's so much education that needs to be dealt with some of our older folks in the community. And I'm not bashing nobody out, I'm not trying to do that, because that's not me. But I'm just saying, like, with my opinion, I just feel like if you love to do something, if you have a passion for something and you feel like it could help in a way with a certain type of group or a certain type of or just a group of people that you feel that you could share it with, go for it, because you never know, it might change their lives, even if it's hip shaking or other things that is we're not allowed to do. So
I think that's so cool.
But use it in a good way.
Yes. And that's exactly the point, right? Like, I think that so much of the meaning of something, of an action, right, comes from the intention behind it, right? So like the intention in your hip shaking for dance is to feel empowered maybe in who you are, to celebrate, art. Like that's really, I think a really cool distinction that you make, but also like with the context you shared, how incredible that this ministry had faith in you to bring dance inside this religious system. Like what? Like that's amazing. That sounds really revolutionary.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a great point that you bring that out when you said it's a great point to put it out in in this religious system, only because I feel like majority of our whole community is pretty much is in the religious system. And so, and I have nothing against it, I grew up in that, and that's why I'm saying, like, I totally understand, because I feel like growing up, I've started to realize a lot of these things that came up in my life that kind of pushed me back from having to have this fear of having to not want to do something that I'm not supposed to, or that I was told that I can't do this because it's against what I was told, or what I grew up with. But thankfully I have wonderful parents who who support me and stand behind me with everything that I do. And, I told my mom with what I came up with and created over here and started. And she was like, I thought she would be like, oh, but don't you think, or, or shouldn't you think twice? No, my mom, oh my goodness. Thank you. I'm so thankful for her, because she's just like, oh, that's a great idea. Go for it. And I'm over here like, oh, okay, she's for it. Like, like who am I to think already this way when I haven't even started it? You know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
hasn't even been done, but I was already thinking that way. So
Yes, that's so
that's
amazing.
what I'm
That support. That's so nice and so encouraging. And our self-doubt always comes up, right? It's just kind of like a thing. And then to have our parents be by our side and like breaking down whatever
yeah.
barriers we encounter is tremendous. That's so cool. So was Ocean Wave the product of this church wanting you to build a ministry, or does that come down the line? Like where are we in the story right now?
Oh yeah. Okay, so with the church, that's where I started out with doing the ministry and just having a group of girls, because their parents were already going there. So there was already a group of little girls. And so they had so King Chapels is actually the main base, is actually the main big church is actually in Hawaii. It's in Hawaii. And so they have one here for Marshallese people, and so they moved it here. I know, it's crazy. And so they said, hey, would you like to if you were to have a ministry, would you want to lead it? And if it was Hula, would you want to lead it? And I said, say no more, yes. And so that's where I started, and that was like the first like gig that I started out with, was at church, and with a group of little girls, and we would have practices almost every Saturday or every Thursday after school or something like that. But it gave me a chance to really see the fact that, oh my goodness, these little girls are actually applying a lot of the things that I would tell them and encourage them with, even during practice or after practice. And I started to realize in my head, like, I wonder if I started out something like this in the community, that would it go big, or, would it work out well, because I had a lot of pros and cons about it, and having to lead it because of what we talked about earlier,
Yes.
and about our community. And so, like, I down the line, that's whenever I started to volunteer a lot for the community, and that's whenever I started volunteering for ACOM. And ACOM, Melissa, who is like the founder of ACOM, which is
So
Melissa
ACOM, let's say
Lila.
what ACOM is, because I'm sure not everyone knows. That is the coalition of Marshallese, right?
Yes, it is the Arkansas Coalition of the Marshallese, and they are located in Springdale, Arkansas. And pretty much they help you out with everything. They help out with Medicaid, with health, with whatever you need for your family, with bills. And so they give you those awesome resources to use. And they had this really big event called the Stroll the Atolls that they just recently had this past summer in July. And so, I had the great opportunity of being asked if I had a group of girls, would I be able to, would I want to lead them in a dance to perform for the big event? And, of course, I didn't have to think twice about it, because if you say dance, I'm already there. You got me at dance.
Yes. And so I think it's so when you share the story, it almost sounds like serendipitous these opportunities came up, but I don't want to glance over or glaze over the fact that like you were putting yourself out there. Like it wasn't completely random, right? That the church reached out to you, that ACOM reached out to you, Arlynda specifically, right? Like what were you doing to make sure the world knew that when they think dance, they should think Arlynda, like how did you kind of create that brand for yourself?
With me, before I had started out, teaching groups of little girls, I did solos a lot before. And so I would dance for weddings, or I would dance for birthdays, or I would get a group of my girls that are around my age or younger, a little bit younger than me. And, we would dance for any occasions, or even I would dance at what do you call it? At community gatherings, whether it's in downtown Bentonville, if they were doing their cultural festival, or in Fayetteville, if they were doing their cultural festival, or same thing as Rogers. So the way I would try to get myself out there is having to be a part of the community here in Arkansas in the events that they host, and go from there, because I feel like where it really starts is the choice from me. It all starts with me, and having to really put myself out there, and going out there and reaching out to and connecting with people who I feel would be able to help me in the long run, in where I'm trying to go after with this program. And so pretty much they would just see me in on internet, because I would get videoed, or just social media, which is awesome, but great for social media, because that's where mostly people are on. So yeah.
So true. And that's, I think you just made so many important points. I wanted to make sure you'd be able to share that part of your story, because it's so important to, be willing to kind of vulnerably put yourself out there and share what you're passionate about, so that people know to come to you with these new opportunities. Has it always come naturally to you? Were you ever nervous when you were, putting yourself out there? Were there skills you learned along the way to feel confident in that? Or was it just something you never, had to worry about, which is also awesome?
Yes, of course. So, yes, I do get nervous all the time. But I don't get as nervous as I used to, because I feel like I'm at that point in my life where, things are just, I get excited now, I get excited to want to be able, because it's all about, okay, what I think about before I get on stage now is the fact that, okay, I'm delivering a message to these people, and I want to share my passion with these people, and I want them to feel the story that I'm telling through the motions of my body movement, and my the storytelling, and I want them to feel the way I feel when I'm dancing as well, when I'm smiling, when I'm closing my eyes, when I'm gracefully lifting my arms up in the air, and just, what I mean,
I'm like, I feel like we're in like a meditative state. Like I'm ready to like go to town and like in the mood. Like now I want to dance. I want to share a story with my movement. You've sold me. I'm convinced.
Oh my goodness. I was trying to get at that.
You did so good. Like, oh my gosh. Now I just want to go dance. Or I want to watch.
Yeah. And that was the thing. Like, I really wanted like this dance program to be like almost like I don't want to say therapy, but almost like a safe place for any little girls, to be able to kind of be open enough to be to trust, any leaders that are part of this program, to be able to talk to be able to give them the right resources, to give them the just to talk, to give advices, or to encourage, because part of my job as a teacher for these little girls, and for for the job that I have too, is being able to encourage these little kids, and being able to let them know that they are somebody, and they're going to become somebody one of these days, and they're going to become the biggest thing, because they are the next future, they're the next leaders. And so for me, having to think about my community, personally, like I want to be able to what do you call it, influence these kids to be able to know not only who they are, but what they're going after, and for trying to find out their passion, because I feel like that's an important part of um, uh, teaching kids or just working with kids in general. I just feel like a lot of them need that guidance with the journey that they're taking, because we don't know what they go through at home. They could be the happiest kid in the world in school, but go through a lot, behind the scenes, and we don't know that. And so part of my job is to be able to make sure that these kids are safe, and that, they feel safe in a place where they can be able to open up and just to talk to somebody who they feel they need. And not just that, but also go through talking while talking with them through dancing.
Yes, it's such a beautiful like responsibility and privilege, but like also imagine like a heavy weight at times. Like, wow, like I really want to make sure that these kids do have the equipping that they need for like their life outside of here. So it's really cool how you negotiate those things and like bravely show up to do the work that is so much. It's more than, it's not just dance, but I mean dance is its own big thing, but it's also this like just like doing life with them kind of experience, it sounds like, which is so amazing to have as a little girl in Springdale, Arkansas, or Northwest Arkansas in general. I wondered if you could speak about the name Ocean Wave and maybe some of also the, you've mentioned a lot of the amazing goals of this program, maybe some of the outcomes that you've seen of like positive impact outside of the performance that these girls or their families have shared back with you.
Yeah, of course. So what was the first question that you asked?
Yeah, so the name Ocean Wave, I'd love to hear
Oh,
in your words more about why it's called that.
ooh, I love this one. So, what do you call it? So at first they were called the Navigators. We were called the Navigators. And so I changed it because I just wasn't, I don't know, it didn't seem right yet. And it was the first name, and it's a great name, but I felt like I wanted something different. And so, I would think about it, and I was like, okay, who are we? We are ocean people. We are surrounded by ocean. And, I said, you know what? I feel like Ocean Wave is such a great idea. But honestly, the person that actually helped me with the name was actually my aunt. So shout out to Auntie Faith because
Yes.
she was the one who helped me out with the name. Only because I was kind of getting stuck and kind of getting frustrated a little bit with it. And I was like, I really need to get this done first. And so I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to call my aunt and see what she thinks about it. And so she says, hey, I think Ocean Waves is such a great name. I think you should use that one. And I wanted to choose the name Ocean Wave only because, one, we are all surrounded. Everyone in this world is surrounded by ocean. It's what connects us. And two, I wanted to apply waves into the name only because when I think about our dances and when I think about the ocean and the ocean waves, and how they come and hit the shore, and just the flow of the movement once they hit the shore, you see on the water, the top of the water, it's like this really graceful just flow of water. And so when I think about that, I think about our dances only because our dances are mostly graceful movements. And so, whenever we sway our hands, I tell them that is the ocean. You are the ocean. You are the one who you are the wave of the ocean that is connecting everybody together. And this is what you're sharing with the people around you. And it was just something that I felt that it was the name. It was the name. That's the name for us, because ocean waves is what really it describes every single person, every dancer in this group. They are all ocean people. We are all ocean people. We are, through our dances, when we do graceful movements, it shows it, it applies to the waves of the ocean and how graceful they are, and how we're all moving together. We're all on the same boat here. We're all going to do this to anything. I always apply our name with all of our lessons every single time, because I want them to understand, what I want them to understand and never forget the name ocean wave.
I love that. And I think there's such a special like duality to the ocean being calming and empowering at the same time, and your dancers getting to be calming and empowering at the same time, and their gracefulness and also their just the beauty and the skill of their technique. I think that's so cool how all of those pieces fit together in the name that you and your aunt got to choose. That's so special. And so I remember,
Yeah.
when I was getting to know you and you were sharing a bit about your story, you talked about like really kind of maybe coming to this realization that this is what you truly want to be doing, that this feels different maybe than things you've done before. I feel like even I'm still like kind of figuring out that for myself, and it's cool for people to hear about what it's like to find the thing that you're meant to be doing. So I wondered if you could share a little bit about that aha moment for you, or what makes this something that you're so motivated by.
Yeah. So whenever before uh July, on our first group uh performance at the Strolly Atoll. So before July, I had did what do you call it? Just private lessons here at my house. And so I would just have one girl come in and just, do lessons on. And I did that for about a couple of months, and then a couple of the parents would ask, like, when are you gonna start, making this big, or have more girls a part of it? Are you looking into that? And I think about that all the time, whenever I had just one-on-one private lessons with girls coming here. And I did want to do it. I felt like I could do it. It's just then I didn't feel as motivated as I feel now. I felt like I was going through a lot before, which kind of bumped me down a little bit to not want to move forward in it. But it was it was at the same time, that time, that I had my aha moment, because whenever I had all three of my private lesson kids come to my house and do it at the same time, for the first time, they were practicing and everything. And I realized I could be doing this with more girls, because I realized that whenever we would have our moments where we share and open, whatever it is that is in our hearts to each other, I realized that it helped them a lot, because a lot of them got very sensitive about what they talked about. And I said, wow, like right then and there, is after I felt that sensitive moment with them, I realized that I could be helping other little girls too. And I'm not gonna cry.
It's a tear evoking thing though. It's amazing. I'm sure the amount of connection that you get to form with these individual young humans and with each other that they get to have. It's a pretty amazing just little world that ocean wave has created.
Yes, it's a very precious moment whenever you have moments like that with kids, because you realize that at that moment you've created this bond and this trust, with them. And I said, oh my goodness, this is it. This is it, this is it, because I felt like that was a time where I felt like a hero, and that's what I want. I want to be able to, I know everybody wants to be a hero and everything, and I want to be able to be a hero to any kids that I'm able to help, or in this program, and being able to give them that resource and encouragement and just word of affirmation to them, and letting them know that they are not alone, and that, that I'm so happy that they're able to share whatever it is that is in their hearts to me, because that's a big gain. That's a big gain for me. If they're going to be sensitive towards me and sharing something, that's a huge gain for me. And that's like a win-win for me. I'm like, yes.
Yes, and I think that, the way that you share with me, like their parents, their families are so appreciative of the way that then they get to show up as a different person in their own systems because you've believed in them and given them that space, and then they get to do their chores better and show their love to their family, in ways that are maybe more intimate or sensitive, or just like so cool how you get to be part of this ripple effect that's going to last for generations. That's like goosebumps worthy. That's so special. I know we've talked about it kind of throughout, but I want to just really directly ask you, why does dance matter to the Marshallese community, to the world? Why does performance matter? What keeps inspiring and motivating you to use dance as a form of connection?
I feel like dance brings everybody together. I feel like it's what brings everyone together. I feel like dancing is what brings people smiles on their faces, and that joy, dancing just I feel like dancing also brings joy to everybody. I feel like dancing brings different types of um expressions, emotions, and you get to do that all in dancing. And I just feel like I feel like, whenever we dance out there or we perform, you see everybody in the audience smiling and gazing and just enjoying the moment, and just having to have this beautiful view of beautiful dancers up on stage and just sharing a moment with everybody together, and it, I might not be speaking on stage, but I'm gonna tell you that I will bring a whole crowd and just enjoying everybody together, by dancing on stage. I might not sing. I'm not gonna talk. I might not talk. I might not sing, but you'll see me dancing on stage. That's my way of having to, talk in front of people.
So beautiful. And it's going to leave us all thinking and excited and inspired. And so it's amazing what you can
Yeah.
do without a word.
Oh yeah,
So,
for sure.
yes. What, lessons have you learned that you would like to share with dancers and with educators?
One thing that I have learned with dancing, I think it's all about consistency, and also what do you call it? Um, Consistency and timing and just connecting, besides having to really, go to the studio and practice and all that with your group. I feel like it's really important to also get out there in public and also, connect with other people who are also in the dance background, for me. And I say that because when I talk to people who are also dancers or educators, I always get a feedback from them, and it's positive feedbacks, and it kind of helps me out throughout my way of this journey to be able to kind of guide me, and direct me through, okay, you know what, I'm gonna try this and what this person said because it worked out for them. But if it doesn't, it's okay. There's other people. That's why you get connected with people, and you start to make relationships with them because they're the ones who will help you, with you might need them one of these days in the near future. So that's why it's good to have relationships with people and get connected with them. And also learning what I got to learn a lot of things that I don't really know a lot about, that I do now. And that's being able to learn leadership in a dancing program, and just having to um, know what the do's and the don'ts are, and also consistency, knowing how to be consistent in your time, managing your time wisely, and just knowing how to have like this structured built of a plan. It's all about planning. I feel like planning is an important thing whenever you're trying to go after something or trying to reach a goal or trying to trying to come up with something. I feel like planning ahead is always something good. And I was never that. And I'll be honest, like I was not I was a procrastinator. I was a very bad
That resonates
procrastinator.
with me too.
Yeah, I was so bad. But I've learned along the ways with other people who are dancers and who are educators who've told me before that they went through the same things too. But it's about you having to continue on each and every day, even if you don't have that motivation. It's about if that's what you really want to do, if dancing it is what it is, that which is what you want to do, then you're going to take every little thing that you learn every single day with other people that you've met with, and you apply what you've learned with from them, and apply it with your own journey and what you're doing and what you're trying to reach. And so just having to communicate with others that are outside, even outside of my circle. It could be like leaders of something else, but they're leaders. And part of that is I got to branch out as well in learning different areas of organizing and organization, or being able to plan out, ahead of time, being a leader. So, okay, I might take leadership classes, or you know what I mean? Just things like that. And I feel like a lot of the people in this community, leaders in this community that I've had meetings lately, have definitely given me a lot of great advices, and having to know where I'm leading this program to. And so, like I said before, I'm the only one that's leading this right now. I have no idea. It's amazing to see where everything has led. And I'm excited to see a lot of the things that are about to happen in the near future. And I'm just excited to see overall of how Ocean Wave is gonna look later on, and how things are gonna be, And so I have no idea. Like before, I had no idea what I was doing at all, but things were working. And the flow was great, and it was to the point where we started to get more people in to call us in to go dance and perform at, which was great, because that means the more places to go perform, better chances I'm going to get connected with somebody to help me out with some other resources, or in the near future.
Yes.
So that's how I look at it, is whenever I know that there's going to be a performance, it's a chance for me to be able to sit down, or have a chance to find a date or time to get connected with whoever it is that is in lead of that thing, that area that we're going to.
Yes. As people learn about Ocean Wave and they want to be involved, or they want to be supportive, or they want to, even understand, Marshallese dance better, what should they do next? Should they reach out to you? Should they come to an event? Like, what should they take a lesson? Like, what would you
Oh,
advise?
yeah. Well, with the Marshallese dances, I would highly recommend finding a Marshallese friend first, and getting acquainted with their families, getting to know the community, going out into the community and volunteering, whether it's for ACOM or for MEI or for Shared Beginnings or for any type of Marshallese organization out here in the community. I'd say with the dancing, I'd go to parties, the first birthdays, the weddings, whatever. Go to their big events. There's always some type of Marshallese dance. You can always go to see it for yourself live in front of you. YouTube is always a great place to look at Marshallese dances as well. Or you can always go, Melissa's a great person to go, because she's a great resource to tell you more about that. With the Ocean Wave, you can follow us on Facebook. And we're called Ocean Waves on Facebook. That's pretty much the name. And you can follow us and just continue to tag along through our journey and just the announcements that we have every single day, and just keeping updated with the events that we might be performing at. So I haven't made a Instagram yet, but I do plan on making it for next year, so that's something that I'm trying to also come up with, just so that way this program is still moving, that consistency. And so what do you call it? You can, so Facebook right now is the only thing. If you want to learn more about it, all my information is on that Facebook page, my email, my phone number, everything. So yes. So if anybody ever wants to learn hula or even Marshallese dances, please reach out to me, reach out to us, and we'll get you all situated.
Yay. I hope people take you up on that. I can't wait for the day, if you want it, that you have like a beautiful, dance studio on the square.
Oh, yes.
People walking by, seeing all the stuff that's happening, getting curious and excited. And I just so admire the way that you lean into continuously learning, like seeking knowledge from like really diverse dance sources to bring back to the community that you work with and teach, and how you lean into like even getting uncomfortable for the sake of growing and learning leadership. And I think that's going to make such a difference too to the young lives that you get to reach. But before we wrap up, what I like to end on is just what you want people to leave knowing about you, specifically what you want them to think of when they think of Arlynda Jonas, and also what in this moment are you looking forward to? I know you mentioned a lot of cool things, but if there's one thing in particular, we can end with that.
Actually, there was a thing that you just said that I like to think about every single time. And I do tell these to people too, which is get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because there is no way that you can be comfortable and having to chase after something that you have a passion for. There's always that uncomfortable area where you're going to have to, suck it up and kind of go through it, because part of finding out what you're passionate about is getting uncomfortable in certain areas and knowing how to work around it, and knowing how to work with it. And so part of that is pretty much being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And so that's what I just tell a lot of people here and there. And really, if any advices, I would also say, don't listen to any negative thing that you hear. I feel that if you know for sure that you love something and you feel that other people might think it's weird, I'd say go after that, go do it, go try it, because what is weird anymore? What is normal? Really, what is normal anymore?
Not real.
Yeah. So go after what you want to do, what you want and what you love doing, because you never know. It could be a chance for you to build something greater in the near future and helping other people out, and you don't even know that yet. But it's all about, I feel like the first thing you have to really do is change your mindset. It's all about the mindset, because if you don't change your mindset and how you have to shift it to be able to kind of continue on in this journey of chasing after running to your passion, finding your passion. And I say that because it took a while for me to have to change my mindset, and where I am today with it. And part of that is with a lot of leadership friends, and family members who really taught me a lot throughout the way, and strengthening this mind of mine in becoming the person that I am today, especially with my family as well. They've taught me so much. My parents, they've taught me so much in becoming this person, with a strong mind, in leading something in this community. And, one thing that I want to one of these days leave behind, before I leave this earth, is being able to plant plant something in somebody, more of like planting a seed into somebody and knowing that, um, that they mean something. They mean something to this world. And so they just have to find out by being comfortable with the uncomfortable, and
Yes.
by being able to find their true selves and being able to accept yourself. There's a lot of grounds where you have to deal with yourself before you start wanting to, move on to the next step. I feel like there's a lot of growth within yourself that you have to do.
Yes.
So
Oh, but I'm sure you've actually accomplished that already many times over. And I'm so
yeah.
happy that you continue to shape this next generation into people
Oh
who
yeah.
are excited about their futures and believe in themselves and are willing to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. I feel so privileged to know you at this point when you're still like so close to the beginning, like to get to see
Yeah.
where the next 100 years take you, and to be part of that journey as a friend is something that makes me so happy and so excited as well. So Arlynda, I'm so grateful to you. I'm so thankful that we got to catch up today, and I can't wait for the world to hear your story.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was an honor. I had fun with this. You've
So
made me cry a little bit.
my sister knows, like whenever I'm gift giving, like if I can evoke tears, like goal achieved. Like I love tear evocation.
You're good. You're very
Um,
good.